Okay, so let's get started with HTML today. So we will start with HTML and CSS, and we will cover all the basic to advanced concepts in HTML and CSS. Basically, we will be doing the web development part today. So what is HTML? HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. HTML describes the structure of your web page. For example, let's say in your room. So you may have a bedroom, in your bedroom you may have a bed, you may have a almirah, you may have a chair, table, or let's say mirror, or let's say walls, right? So what should be there in your room will be decided by the HTML. Similar if you compare this thing with your website, right? And let's say what should be the size of your bed, what should be the size of your almirah, what should be the color of your walls, what should be the size of your window, and all the like styling part that will be handled by CSS, right? So HTML is basically a tag based language. So we have tags in HTML. So these are less than and greater than symbols. So if I say less than, it's the opening angle bracket. If I say greater than, it's the closing angle bracket, and within these angle brackets I'll be writing the tag name. Then I'll be having a closing tag. So for closing tag I'll be adding a forward slash, then I'll be writing some text in between my this thing, right? Let's say in paragraph. So now what will happen is it's showing us the output, right? So this one is the opening tag, this one is the closing tag, this is the content of your tag, and this complete thing, opening tag plus closing tag plus the content of your tag, we call it as the element of your HTML. Okay, this complete thing is HTML. We have some rules for tags, like tags are always surrounded by the angle brackets. A tag name can either start from a underscore or an alphabet. So obviously there will be content in between. Tags are not case sensitive. Whether you write a capital P or small p, it will be a paragraph, so it will make no difference. Most of the times tags come in pairs, but there is some self closing tags so as well. We will be talking about them later. We have some basic tags like we have head, title, body, HTML. We won't be needing them for now, or even your browser will by default add those tags in your like HTML. But for now we will be skipping them. We will talk them about later, because those things are needed for some advanced part, so we'll be talking about them later. So we will start with p tag. So as the name suggests, we will be able to add some paragraphs with the help of p tag. Let's say I just copy some random paragraph, and let me use another p tag here, and let me paste this thing, and let me use the closing tag. So you can see here the next paragraph will start from the new line. No matter how much width your first paragraph is taking, how much content is there in your first paragraph, the next paragraph will always start from the new line. So paragraphs are used to add a paragraph in your website. Next we have headings, and in fact we have 6 headings. So let me write here main heading. uh, the only difference between the 6 headings is the size. Let me copy paste this thing again and again. Let me show you all the 6 headings. So we have 6 headings here in the order of their decreasing size. So h1 being the largest one, h6 being the smallest one. Then after headings we have list in HTML. So we have first of all unordered list. So for unordered list the tag name will be UL. Inside UL we can use the li tag for adding the list items. Let me write here item, and let me copy paste this item multiple times so that you will be able to see all the items. So you can see there is no order in unordered list. The order doesn't matter. There is bullets in front of item. You can even change these bullets. You need to use the type attribute. Now you may ask what attribute is. Attribute is nothing but some with the help of attribute you provide some additional information about a element. Additional information about a element, whether it could be a source to an image, it could be some styling, it could be the type of for example in unordered list, right? So it could be a link. So attribute is some additional information about your element. So your type could be, let's say here, circle, right? So with the help of circle, it will circles will appear here, right? For it could be a square. So if you write a square here, it will squares will appear here. You can write disk, that is by default. Then similar to UL, we have ordered list as well, that is OL. So let me change it to OL. So the difference is in OL, we have the order. We have the order. You can see 1 2 3 4 5 6. 1 2 3 4 5 6 will by default appear. You can change it to ABCD. If you write a small a, it will be ABCD. If you write a capital A, it will be capital A, capital B, capital C, capital D, etc. Similarly, you can use a small I. A small I will print small Roman numbers here. Similarly, a capital I will make the large Roman numbers, and for 1 2 3 you can simply write 1. And writing 1 doesn't mean that if you write a 2 here, then the counting will start from 2. No, you need to use 1, small a, capital A, I, or capital I. That's it. That's the only option here. Next we have the definition list. Okay, so in definition list, what we have is, we have a definition term and we have a definition of that term, right? So we will denote it as DL. We say it as description list. Okay, so in DL we can have a DT, the definition term. Let's say I say here, let's say Python or something, and then we can simply have a definition description definition, right? The DT tag. So here you can provide the description of your definition, right? Basically you can provide the description here. It will look like something like this. Okay, so next is we have the image tag. Let's say if you want to add an image in your browser, so with the help of image tag you can provide image. Again, we need to provide two attributes here: the source attribute. What is attribute? Some additional information about the tag. So in a image tag, what is the additional information we need? That is the source of our image. It could be an offline source or an online. It could be from something from your local machine as well, but right now I'm using an online IDE. So this code is not running on my local machine, but instead it's running on the CodeBen servers, right? So let's use the image link here. Let me use the image link here. So this image will appear. So this image is very large. Let's me provide some width. Yeah, so we can provide a little bit width here. Then we have the alt attribute. Within alt attribute you can provide what should appear if the source is incorrect. Let's say I say here error in loading image. So let's say let's just corrupt this link. Okay, so now you can see it's saying error in loading image because the source is incorrect, right? So with the help of image tag you can upload an image within your HTML page. Then we have the anchor tag or the A tag, with the help of which you can add a link in your web page. So here in href you need to provide a link. For now I'm keeping it a dummy link. So within anchor tag you can write something like this, a link here. Okay, so even let's provide a link as well. So let's say I provide a link here. So you will be say it will it's saying here link here. So if I click on this link, it will open this link here within the same web page, right? So even you can use inside this A tag you can use a P tag as well, or you can use any other tag. You can use a button as well. You can use like whatever you want to use. Then also it will work. And let me add some BR tags. BR tags are used for to break the line. So let me use some BR tags so that these links should be in new lines, because anchor tag is in line. So the next anchor tag will start within the same line. Okay, so even you can use a image tag as well. So you can use a image tag as well. If I copy this and paste this source once again, and let's use this image tag inside the anchor tag. Okay, so that will also work. Now this image will act like a link. Now this second image will act like a link, right? So after this, in anchor tag we have a target attribute. Inside a target attribute you can provide a value whether self or blank, whether you want to open the link in a new tab or within the same tab. Okay. So if you want to open it within the same tab, that is underscore self, that is the by default value. Okay, so let me write here target and let me give it a underscore blank. So if I'm gonna click on this link, it's going to open this link in a new tab. You can see it's opening this link in the new tab. So with target blank, you can specify whether or not you want to open that link within the same tab or in a different tab. Self is by default value, because by default your yeah, let's get started. Next we will be talking about tables in HTML. So if you want to add a table in HTML, we need to simply use a table tag, with the help of which you can add a table in your HTML. So for adding a table, in a table we have two things: we have a table row and we have a table column, right? So what we will do is we will first add the table rows and then we will add the table data. So let me add a tr tag here for a table row, and inside a table row I can add the td. So let's say right here row 1 code 1. Okay, and let me copy paste this thing. Let's say this is my row 1 and this is my column 2, column 3 and column 4, and let me provide some border. We will be talking about border in detail, but for now let's use border directly. And let me copy paste this tr tag multiple times. So this one is my first row, then we have the second row here, then we have the third row here, then we have the fourth row here, right? So the table is ready. Now let's say if you want to divide your table into three sections, that is the footer section, the table body section and the table header section. So we have separate tags for that as well. Let's say you can use t-head, and here you can provide the header content. Again you can use the tr tag, and inside tr tag this time you can use the th tag for providing the table header. So you can say this one is column 1, and let me copy paste this, and this one is column 2, column 3, column 4, and this in between part you can enclose it inside a t body tag, and then you can create a footer with the help of t footer tag, right? So this is how you can create tables. Then the next thing comes is the row span and column span. Okay, so with the help of row span and column span, you can decide how much space one row should take, or how much span one column should take, right? So let's say for the first row, let's say I give some row span. Okay, not here, let's give it here, row span. Let's say I give it as 2. Okay, I want to take for this first one to, okay, it will not work here because inside t head we have only one row, so we need to use it in the t body, the rest of the table. So you may do this mistake so many times. Never use it because here in t head we have a single row, so this row span will not work here, right? And not even here as well, I need to provide it here. Yeah, so here now the row span will work. So basically you can see now this row 1 column 1 is taking the space of two rows. Now it's taking the space of two rows. Now you can see this thing, that, one second, I need to find my stylus. Yeah, so yeah, so we can see that this one is row 1 column 1, then row 1 column 2, row 1 column 3, row 1 column 4, they are all in the same place, right? But this row 2 is shifted by 1. This row 2 is shifted by 1. Why? Because this thing is taking the space of two rows, so that is why this thing shifted, right? Similarly, let's say for this row 4 column 1, what I do is I add the col span as 2. Then what will happen? uh, Give me a second. How to decrease its size? Okay. Yeah, so basically this row will shift. So let's do this thing for this row 4 col 1. So here we have the row 4 col 1, and let me give it a col span of, let's say, 2. So this whole column will be shifted by 1, like the rest of the columns will be shifted by 1. And let me remove these annotations. You can see now it's taking the space of two columns, and this one is taking the space of two rows, right? So that's how the HTML tables work, right? So next, let's start digging into CSS a little bit. Okay, so let's start with CSS. So now what CSS is? CSS stands for cascading style sheet. Okay, so we have three ways of providing styles, right? You can use the style tag, or you can provide the inline styling, but both of them are not preferred. The best preferred way is to provide all the styles in a separate file, that is the CSS file inside CSS. Okay, now how you are going to decide like which particular style will be applied to which particular element, right? So here you can see here we have my HTML, here we have CSS. How do I link both of these two? How do I decide that whatever style I'm writing here in CSS will be applied to let's say if I want a particular style to be applied to this th, how am I gonna decide that that particular style will be applied to this th only, right? So for that purpose we have selectors. In CSS, with the help of which selectors means we can select to which particular element I want to add all the styles, so let's talk about all the selectors. Okay, the first selector that we will be talking about is the universal selector, that is star. It means simply add this particular style to everything. Let's say I say color blue, so now this color blue will be added to each and every element, right? So you can say everything, all the text, everything is in blue, right? So this is my first selector, that is the universal selector. Then second selector is the element selector, that directly write the name of element. Let's say if I say th, and then if I say color blue, so now what will happen is all the th are going to have the blue color. Okay, so you can say all the table headers are having the blue color. Now rest of them are as it is, right? So this one is the element selector. After element selector, let's say you don't want to apply this blue color to all the four table headers. Let's say you want to do it for just one th, then what you can do is you can provide a id. Let's say I provided a id 1, so if I write here hash id 1, and now if I provide my color as blue, now what will happen is this blue color will be applied only to this th with the id 1. Now what will happen, you can see only column 2 is having the blue color. Now let's say we have some set of elements on which I want to apply this blue color. Let's say I want to apply this blue color to this table row, so let me provide it a class. Let's say I provided a class c1. Then similarly, let's say I want to apply this blue color to this paragraph, so I'll provide a class c1 to this one as well. Then let's say I want to provide this blue color to this h2 heading, so I'll provide a class again c1 to this one as well. So now if I am gonna write here a dot c1 and the color blue, so what will happen, it will basically provide the blue color to all the elements having class blue. So you can say this one is blue, this paragraph is blue, this heading is blue, right? So all the elements with class blue are now having what? the blue color, right? So this one is the class selector. And always remember, whenever you are providing the id selector, you need to use a hash. Whenever you are using the class selector, you need to use a dot. And whenever you are using the element selector, you can use without a dot and hash the name of the tag you want to put styles on. Then for universal selector, you can directly use a star, right? Then we have something called as nesting and grouping of selectors. So basically groupings mean you are clubbing some of the you are clubbing some of the let's say elements, right? Or it could be selectors as well. Let's say what I want is let's say for all the paragraphs, let's say for .c1 class, for both of these two, what I want, okay, I need to remove SCSS, because right now I applied SCSS. We will be talking about the preprocessors soon enough. For now, let me remove the preprocessor. Yeah. So now for let's say for paragraph, all the p tags and anyone who is having the .c1 class, let's say I want the font size to be, let's say, 50 px. Okay, so it will be clearly visible. Right now you can see with the paragraph as well, with the class c1 as well, and this whole paragraph as well. Okay, so I'm grouping, right? So this is called as grouping, that you simply put a comma and you tell, like and here you can put multiple selectors all together. You can put a class, you can put a id or the element selector. So you are grouping some selectors. Okay, so this is the grouping of selectors, and they will behave respectively. It's similar to providing font size 50 pixel to the paragraph separately and to c1 separately, right? Then next we have the nesting. Nesting means the parent child relationship. Nesting means the parent child relationship. For example, you can see here in table tag, inside table tag we have t head tag, inside t head tag we have a tr tag. So let's try the nesting. Okay, so what I can do is, now I can write table, then inside table we have a t head, inside t head we have a tr, inside a tr we have a th. Now whatever the style I'm gonna write here will be applied to these four th, right? So let's say I provide a background color, let's say black, not black, let's say blue. Okay, so so you can see in all of these four th we have the background color is blue. So this is called as the nesting in css, right? Now we will let's after selector. So this is just the basic introduction of css, just to make sure that you have a clear cut idea about selectors. Now I guess we are clear with how to select which particular element we want to apply styles, right? Now let's talk about all the css properties that we can use to apply styles. So for that purpose, let me do one thing. Let me remove this whole code. Let me add a h1, let's say main heading. Let me add a paragraph, and also make one habit: whenever you are using a opening tag, then at the same time write the closing tag. Don't just think about after adding the content I'll add the closing tag. No, just do it at the same time, right? So, and let me add a h2 heading here, and let's say let me write here let's say heading, a normal heading, right? And let me copy this thing, and let me paste this thing multiple times, and let me also comment this much css for now. Okay, so basically what I did is, we have a main heading, then we have a heading, then we have a paragraph, then again we have a heading, we have a paragraph, we have a heading, we have a paragraph. Okay, let's provide some class and ids as well. Let's say for this h1, let's say I provide a id main. Then let's say for this h2, let's say I provide a class c1. Then let me copy this thing. For this h2, let's say I provide a class c2. And then for this h2, let's say I provide a class c3. Then for this h2, let's say again I provide a class c1. Then here let's say I provide a class c2. Then yeah, so we are I'm providing it in a order c1 c2 c3 c1 c2 c3, so something like that. Okay, so first of all we will be talking about all the text as styling properties. So we will be talking about text as styling property. We will be styling a text. Let's say for let's try styling all of these p tags. Let's say let's provide some background color. Okay, so let me provide some background color. We have multiple units for background color, like RBG. We will be talking about them just soon enough. Okay, for now let's use we have 140 color names. Okay, right now I'm using one of the color names, but there is a method where with the help of which you can use any shade. Okay, so we have, let me just tell you this thing now. So if you go inspect and from somewhere, let me just see if it shows me the, yeah. So if anywhere in own color, if you you can now you can see, like you can select any particular shade. Then we have a hex code. You can copy this hex code, or either you can copy this RGB value or RGBA value. This A is for the opacity. If you use a 0 value, then the color will be totally opaque, and if you use a 1 value, it will be absolutely visible. Okay, so similarly we have a HSLA value as well. This is for hue, saturation and lightness. And then we have the hex values. Okay, so any of these four values you can use. Okay, so any of these four values you can use. So next let's come back here. Then we have a line height. So you can provide some line height. Let's say I provide 30 px as line height. So this is my line height. Then we have the font size. With the help of font size, you can provide the font size to your text. Let's say I provide 18 pixels here. So after font size, you can provide a font family. Let's say, like we have a lots of font families, you need not to even remember the name of all the font families. You can choose a font family from Google cheat sheet or somewhere, right? Then we have font size done. Font style as well, we have font style. You can provide here italic, you can provide here bold. You can uh, 3 4 more values I guess we have for font style as well. Then after this we have letter spacing. Let's say I provide a 2 pixel letter spacing. Then we have word spacing as well. Let's say I provide a word spacing of, let's say, 5 px. Okay, so in between each and every word there will be a gap of 5 pixels. Okay, let's style these headings as well. Let's style the main heading. Let's say hash main. For hash main, let's do the first of all text align center, so it will be in the center. Let's do another thing. Let's increase the font size further. Sorry, font size, let's say I provide font size as 45 px as its main heading. Then we have text transform. Text transform, you can say, let's say capitalize. Then what will happen, the first letter of both the words will be capital. Even for paragraph also you can try. Let's say text transform. Let's try text transform. And if I say capitalize, what it will do is all first letter of all the words will be capital. And let's say for dot c1 as well, let's say I write here text transform capitalize. Okay, what other values you can give instead of capitalize? So instead of capitalize, here we can give uppercase. So for uppercase, all the letters will be in uppercase. You can give lowercase, so all the letters will be in lowercase. Okay, so this is for c3, right? So here you can say this one is capitalize, uppercase, we have the lowercase, right? Then let's say to this main heading, let's provide, again here also you can provide letter spacing. Let's say 3 pixels. You can provide word spacing if you want to provide word spacing. In word spacing, let's say I say here 8 pixels. Then in here you can give text decoration as well. Let's say in text decoration I provide here underline. Okay, so for underline there will be a underline in your heading. Instead of underline you can provide a overline. You can provide a overline. uh, you can provide a line through here. For this one, let's give a line through. Yeah, so this is first one is my underline, this is overline, and this one is my line through, right? We have font weight as well. You can give bold, bolder, or lighter. Let me show you the examples. So we have a font weight. So font weight you can give lighter. So with lighter, it will vary the thickness. You can see the main heading is now lighter. You can provide a bolder value here, then it will be more thicker. Okay, so with the help of font weight you can control the thickness of your text, right? So I guess in text align as well, let's say for this C1, let me, if I give as, let's say, text align, you can give left, that is by default, or text align you can give as right as well. So for right it will be on the right hand side, or you can give the center value, as you know already. You can provide different colors to these headings. Let's say I provide a color blue here, just random color. Let's say I provide a color green here, or instead of green let's use RGB values. And in RGB values, let's try finding out the RGB values for green color. So what I'll do is I click on the color, let's go to the green shade. Let's say I want to use this shade. So for now I'm gonna use 65 244 20. So 65 comma 244 comma 20, right? So you can see the C2 color is this one. And if you want to use the RGBA, then you need to provide the A value as well. If I provide the 0 value, then it won't be visible at all. And if I start increasing it value, let's say 0.2, it will be visible a little bit. For 0.4 sorry 0.4 it will be visible more, and for let's say 0.8 or 9 it will be more visible, and for 1 it will be the proper or complete shade, the opaqueness will be 1, right? So that's how the RGBA values work, or you can provide the hex code as well. So in for this color, let's say let's use the red color, and let's use the hex value. So just simply copy this hex value and let's paste. Okay, why it's pasting this? So let's paste the hex value. Yeah, so you can see the color of this third heading as red, right? And also you can notice the styling is repeating because of the C1 C2 C3 C1 C2 C3, right? So to the main heading again I'm repeating text decoration, it may look better. So with text decoration, let's say you can give a underline here, and you can give a background color or the color or whatever you want to provide. So I guess these are all the text styling properties. Okay, so next we will be talking about something called as flex. Okay, so I'll be removing this whole code for now. So let's get started with flex. So for flex, let me create a div here, a closing div, and let me give it a class outer. And before even flex, let's just quickly do one thing, that is the border margin and padding. So let's try border margin and padding. So let me just tell you what border margin and padding is. Let's say you have one HTML element here, let's say you have another HTML here. Let's say inside this HTML there is some content, here also there is some content. Okay, so the gap between these two elements is what we call it as the margin. Okay, the gap between the border and the content, we call it as the padding. And this thing border, okay, this, how thicker is this, the thickness, the color, the style, right? So this is what we call it as border, right? For border, for border we have three things. We have the border style, we have the border width, we have the border color, right? So and also we have the border radius, so we will be talking about these. And for margin, padding and border, we have four directions. This one is the top, this one is the bottom, this one is the left, this one is the right. Okay, for this particular element. Similarly for this element, this one is left, this is again top, right and bottom, right? So that is how the four directions are for even here. Now in for border styling, we can say border top width, border bottom width, border this width, right? So for width we have into four width possible. For color as well, we have four colors possible for all four directions. Radius also, we have four radiuses possible. Radius, in case of radius, you can say this, we have these four corners as well, we have these four corners as well. Like this corner for this element is top and right corner. This is my top right corner, this is my top left corner, this is my top left corner, this is my bottom left corner, this is my bottom left corner, this is my bottom right corner. So these are the four corners, these are the four directions. And we have let's get started. So let me delete this stuff. So for this div, so let's get started. Okay, so let me write here dot outer. For once, let me provide, first of all, let me give it some width, let me provide it some height, let me give it some background color so that it will be visible. Let's say blue. Now here we have the div. Now we have the short form for border. Let's say I want 3 pixels and a solid and a, let's say, black border, right? So you can see a black border is visible. Let me make it 13 so it will be visible properly. So we have the border. Now again, you can provide all the three properties separately. So you can say border width. So for providing border width as well, now we have four lots of ways, right, you can directly say 12 pixels, right? So your border width for all the four sides will be 12 pixel, or even here as well you can provide multiple values. Let's say I say here, let me make it as 20 pixel and let me provide one more value as 10 pixels. Now what will happen? Now you can see the top and bottom values are 20 pixels, left and right values are 10 pixels, right? If I provide one more value, that is the third value, that is, let's say, 5 pixels. Now what will happen? It will move in this direction, right? First value is top, second value is right, third value is this bottom, and then fourth value is copying its which value is opposite direction value, right? So now you can provide a fourth value as well. Let's say I provide here 15 is 15 pixels so that you will be able to differentiate. So you can see all the four sides are having the different width, right? So either you can provide this way or either you can provide like differently. Let's say border, let's say top width, you can say border top width, and then you can provide border top width 20 pixels, right? That will also work. So now we have four possibilities here: border bottom width, bottom left width, bottom right width, right? Similarly we have the border color. Similarly we have the border color, so it should be a dash. So in border color, let's say I give it red, then let's say I give it yellow, then again let's say give it a value green, and then let's say one third one is, last one is, let's say, orange. I'm just giving the random values. Here also you can give, if you give one color, it will be applied to four sides. If you give two colors, vertically opposite sides, it will be applied to vertically opposite sides. If you provide three colors, it will basically move in the clockwise direction. Then if you provide all the four colors, it will again move the clockwise direction and it will give all the four colors, right? Here also you can say something like as border, let's say bottom, color, and let's say border bottom color I provide it as name a color. uh, 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 I'm out of colors. I'm just giving it green for now. Okay, so yeah, bottom is already green, so it won't make a difference. Next we have the border style. So you can give a solid, you can give a dashed, you can give a dotted, right? So you can give a dotted dash, dot dash. So we have multiple values here, also the same thing. Next we have the border radius. Border radius, if I give, let's say, 5 pixels. So let me just keep the border style as solid for now, so that the border radius will be very well visible to you guys. So let's keep the border radius 5 pixels. Let me make it 15 so that it will be more visible. So you can see all the four corners are now radially active, right? So there is a 15 pixel border radius. If I keep increasing this value, 25 pixel, the border radius will be more and more, and for 55 it will be more. Then there will be a saturation point, after which no matter how much value you will increase, it will be like a proper circle. Okay, so now doesn't matter how many value, how much I increase the value, it's a proper circle, right? So even instead of this, you can say a 50% as well. A 50% means a circle, right? 50% means a circle, right? So for now I'm keeping it, let's say, 25 px. Okay, so as I told you, now for border radius we have four corners, right? So what I can say is border bot bottom left radius, yeah, or right radius, right? So let's say I give it a value of, let's say, 60 px. So you can say border bottom left radius is now 60 pixels. Let me make it 90. So you can say the value is increasing. Let me make it 190. So you will be able to see this border radius, border bottom left radius, is now 190 pixels. Now let's say inside this div, let's say we have, let's say I use a p tag, and let's say hey there. Now let's talk about the margin. So this hey there is here. Let me make the color white, because white will be more visible on blue. So if I do give some padding, so let's say give 100 px, again you can see there is a 100 px padding on both the sides, from top, from left as well, right? So if I give it a 10 pixels padding, obviously padding will also take its own size, right? So you can see the padding effect here. And let's say I copy paste this div one more time. Now you can see there is no gap between both the divs, right? So you can give some margin as well. Let's give some 30 pixels margin. So you can say there is a 30 pixel margin in all the four directions. Now again we have four things. You can provide margin top only. Then what will happen? On the top side only the margin is provided to both the divs, because both are having the same class as outer. So you can provide for margin and padding for both of them. We have four directions, top, bottom. So in all the four directions you can provide specify the particular values as per your requirements. Okay, now I guess now let me just comment this code. Now let's move to flex. So flex is easy, right? So let me just remove this div. So for flex, what I'll do is let me create some inner divs here. Let me give it a class as inner, and let me copy paste this thing multiple times. And I'm gonna need to give them ID as well. Let's say div1, and content as well. Let me write it as div1, and let me copy paste this thing. Now also you may ask what a div tag is. Also, I guess I didn't told you guys about the div tag. Div tag is a semantic tag. So it's basically used for the purpose of styling only, to create the sections of your code. Let's say in any of your website, let's say you have a header section, right? So you have a header section, then you have some aside section, some main section, some contact us forms, right? So here there may be further sections, right? So basically what you do is you do these division with the help of div tags. And I guess I'm telling you guys about div tags at the very right time, because now we will be sectioning our website and we will learn how we can do that with the help of div. One method is that to each and every div you give the width and heights that you require, width and height to the inner ones, and you give them absolute positions, or you can align the divs with the help of, the flex as well, right? So a div in itself won't give you any output. Okay, divs are just used to divide the sections. Okay, so like, to if you provide a border to the divs, you will be able to see the borders, right? So there is no content inside div by itself. Okay, div is nothing like a image or p or h1, right? So div is simply used for division. So all the code of the header section you can enclose inside a div. So similarly for this section you can enclose all the code inside a div. Then for further sectioning you can enclose the code inside another div inside div inside div, right? So you will get to learn about it more. We will be doing some projects as well in upcoming sessions, like after the basics is done, so things will be more clear, don't worry. So now let's start styling these divs. Let me name it as this 2, this one 3, yeah, this one 4, 5, 6 and 7, yeah. So let's write here dot outer. Let me give it a width 100%. 100% means 100% of the viewport. Let me give it a height, let's say 500 pixels. Let me give it a background color, let's say green. Let me give it, yeah, so this is my outer div. Let's make it 600 pixels. And for dot inner, let's say I give it a width of 100 px, let's say a height of 100 px, and let's say a background color, let's say a background color of red, and let me give a margin 10 pixels, so that you will be able to see the difference between all the divs. So we have 7 divs here, so they are getting out of the outer div because of the size problem, right? Now we want to align them in a particular way inside the bigger div. Now we want to align them inside in a particular way inside the bigger div. So for that purpose, flex comes into picture. Okay, so basically, a flex layout provides efficient way to layout, align and distribute space among items in a container. This is really helpful when the size of the elements in the container is unknown, or it should be dynamic, right? So using the flex in a container gives the ability to alter its items width, height, order as well to best fit in the space available. So if you want to use flex, you need to simply write display flex. So I'll write here display flex. So as soon as you write display flex, flex property will be applied. So the first thing that we will be talking about is the flex direction. You can see by default it's row, so you can give it as the flex direction is column. So yeah, or you can give it a column reverse. So if you give it a column reverse, it will be 7 6 5 4 3 2 1. For column it will be 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Then we have a row. The row is by default, that is 1 2 3 4 5 6 horizontally. Then we have the row reverse. For row reverse it will be 7 6 5 4 3 2 1, and it will start from the flex end, right? So this is the first property of flex, that is the flex direction, with the help of which you can control the direction of your flex, that whether or not it should be vertically or horizontally, right? So, and let me do one more thing. Instead of, let's say, 100%, let me give it 70%, and let me give it, let's say, margin left 15%. It will be in center. Okay, so for now you can see, uh, the size of the internal or the inner divs are changing, right, according to the size of the outer div. Okay, so we will be solving this problem as well. So we have another property, that is the flex or flex wrap. Okay, so it will decide whether or not you want to wrap up the things or not, right? So you can simply say flex wrap, and let's give it a no wrap. So no wrap will do nothing, and if you give it a wrap, then what will happen is, now it won't try to fit in a single line. Okay, so and let me make it a row only instead of row reverse. So you can see now it's not trying to fit all the elements in a single line. So it goes one by one, placing all the elements, and as soon as it says that in that particular row there is no more space, it will create another row. Okay, so that is flex wrap. Then we have a order property as well, with the help of which you can decide the order of these elements. By default, the order allotted to each and every div child or the flex child is 0. Like this div1 is 0, this is 0, this is 0, and by default they will be sorted according to the ascending order of their order, right? Let's say I write here hash div5. Okay, and let me give it a order of, let's say, 10. You can give it a random integer. Okay, the to order property you can give it a random integer, and then you can see div5, as soon as I give it a order 10, now it's in the end. Why? Because it will be in the ascending order. First all the 0 0 0, then ascending order. Let me give some order to, let's say, div4 as well. Let's say to div4 I give it a order of 15, right? 15 154, whatever you want to give it. So here again you can see all of these are with the 0 order, and let me give it 6, right? So that you can see these are in the ascending order. Div 4 will go, okay, I need to change these IDs as well now. 4, this is 5, this is 6, this is 7. Yeah, so yeah, now you can see, so we have a 4 here, then we have a 5 here, right? So they are sorted according to their order, the ascending order. So with the help of order property you can change the order. After order we have something called it as flex grow, right? So now you can see in the second row there is a lots of space left, right? There is a lots of space left. So let's say what you want to do is, you want these inner divs to change the size automatically as per the remaining space. So for that purpose what you can do is, you can do a flex grow. So if I say flex grow 4 here, and let's say a flex grow 8 here. Okay, now obviously 4 is to 8, or you can say 1 is to 2 ratio, right? So you can say div 5 is, if div 5 is taking one part, then div 4 is taking twice that part. Okay, uh, so that is my flex grow property, with the help of which you can decide how the remaining part should behave, right? Next we have this property as justify content, right? Let's say justify content, if I write it as center. Okay, so instead of center, first you can see, before that let me tell you guys some stuff. So we have two axes, one is the main axis and one is the uh, cross axis. Okay, so this one here is the main axis. So for this main axis, this side, left side is flex start, right side is flex end. this right side is flex end and this one is the center, right? So here you can provide flex start, that is the by default value. So all the, and let me remove the grow so that you can see how the elements are moving. All right, so you can see now all the elements on the left side, let me make it as flex end. So you can see all the elements are on the right hand side, that is flex end. You can see center, right? You can see center, so all the elements will be in center. Then we have space around, we have space around. Now in case of space around, what will happen is it will distribute the space in such a way that here this on both the sides the space will be equal, this side and this side. Now here this in between the space will be twice, half because of div 1, half because of div 2. Here also the space will be twice, here also the space will be twice, as compared to the beginning and the endings, right? Because here the space is only because of div 1, but in between the space is because of div 1 as well as div 2. That is why the total space is twice, right? But let me clear it out. And if you do a space around, oh sorry, space between, now the space will be in between only. I'm giving some margin as well. Let me remove the margin, so you will be able to see that there is only in between space, there is no space in the starting or end of the flex, right? So this is space between. Then we have space evenly. For space evenly, the complete space will be distributed evenly between the elements, right? There is no like nothing like in between, that the space will be twice in the beginning or end, the space will be half or something like that, right? Then this justify content, with the help of this justify content, you can move the inner elements along the main axis. Then we have align items, align content, and we have align items. So with the help of align items, you can move the items along the cross axis. So this one is my cross axis, this one is my cross. Okay, my line is not straight, but let's say this one is my cross axis. So here is my flex start, this is my flex end, this is my center, and again here as well we will be able to apply all the properties, like I can say flex end. Okay, so it will work. So you can say here flex end, flex starts. Also you can give a stretch and baseline. So let's use the stretch. So if I use a stretch, now what will happen? So let me use a stretch and let me comment this seventh div. Okay, so because here we have one extra div, so now you will see what will happen. So I'm using align items, and you can also provide the baseline value. So in align items, if you provide a stretch, that is the by default value, what it will do is it will just keep the elements in the same size. And if you provide the baseline, so what it will take care of is that, let's say just wait a second. So let's say right now I'm having all the divs of the same size, because I don't have time to like define the size of all the divs separately. Let's say you have a h1 heading, then you have a h2 heading, then you have a h3 heading. So the size will differ, right? So what it will do is, baseline will do is, the baseline of for all of them will be on the same line, okay? But the upper line won't matter, but the baseline will match, okay? For all the elements the baseline will match. That will happen in baseline, okay? Also we have align content as well. So in align content you can do things like space around, space between, space evenly, right? So if I just uncomment this seventh div again, so space around again will do the same thing, right? Around means twice this in between. Then between means just between, there will be nothing in the end or start. Then we have evenly means the space will be divided evenly between all the elements. Okay, so I guess that is all about flex, right? So that is all about similar to flex grow, we have a flex shrink as well. So if we have elements bigger than the size available of the outer container, then it will shrink the elements in the ratio provided here. Okay, so this is all about the basics of HTML and CSS. So I'll be shooting the videos for advanced CSS, like CSS transform, animations, and let's say background and positions, right? So and more stuff, SCSS, SAS, etc., all the preprocessors, all the advanced CSS in HTML form soon enough. So if you like the video, please stay tuned. So we will catch up shortly. Okay, thanks.